practices were being used. We literally had a guy whose full-time job was doing code reviews. And then he would just make sure that everybody, you kind of need that one, like you need one central guy that knows what's going on across the entire repository. He was one of our first developers that was on it, and then since he kind of knew the whole application, he just kind of fit that role. And so his full-time job was, and he stayed busy. I mean, it was 40 hours a week of just reviewing the other 15 contractors' code that was being pushed. And I mean, especially when we were going at it, I mean, there was a lot of code being pushed every single day, and just making sure that consistent development patterns were being followed, components. You know, it's really easy when you have 12 to 15 guys working on the same application to say, hey, I'm gonna build a component that does this, and some other guy that says, I'm gonna build a component that does that, and they're basically the same component, just two different ways. It's like, let's merge that into one common component and have it used in two different places. And so that just helps with consistency. But yeah, now that we can use AI for code reviews, that has definitely helped. We've also now we don't have that contractor anymore. He's no longer with us because our team went down from 15 down to, it's me and 3 other contractors right now. So we have a team of 4. So the amount of code that we're pushing now is not nearly what we had a while ago. And the AI we've used, so now what we do is we use AI for our code reviews, and it's fine. I mean, it's good for the very simple checks, right? Like the kind of the boneheaded checks was what we say. When it comes to like coding patterns and consistencies, it wouldn't have caught any of that stuff when we were going through that. So that's where I think, you know, the human intervention is still needed at this point until AI can get to a place where it can catch even some of that stuff. But that's what we use now for our code reviews, and the 4 guys that we have working on the front end. We kind of all know what everybody's working on now, and we can kind of all trust that anything that we're developing now, we're copying from somewhere else. So when you get to that point where you're just copying code from other places, it's like, you know, the consistency is the patterns are gonna continue because you're copying one pattern from one place to the next. So yeah, so we don't have that anymore. But yeah, that AI we use GitHub, and GitHub Copilot is what we use, and it's really great for that, for code reviews. And we also use GitHub Copilot inside of our Visual Studio Code IDE, where we code, and it's phenomenal at writing code, to the point where it's like, man, oh man, if I ever had to take a test in React, I don't even know if I would pass it anymore. Like, do I even write code anymore? I don't even know. Which is kind of scary. But also, there are times too where I'm like, this is why we have humans still writing code, because it would not have known to do this, or I had to prompt it specifically to write the code in this way, and it would not have known to do that. Or even, the question that I always ask myself is like, could you just have a business analyst coding it by just asking AI? And there are some times where I'm like, yeah, we could have had a business analyst write this, but also, I would say, so far, like currently, in the current state of AI, there's a lot more times where I'm like, even if you just had a business analyst use AI, that wouldn't have been good enough. You still need a developer or somebody who knows React to a certain degree in there, knowing what they're doing. So we're not there yet, but man, AI continues to get better and better at writing code, and it has without a doubt made us more efficient as developers at being able to write code much more efficiently, much quicker, explain learning. Our interns that we have 4 interns on our team right now, development interns, and they are able to pump out, not pump out code, they're able to learn concepts much quicker, because it used to be if you needed to learn something, it's like, what does this chunk of code do? I have no idea. I gotta go to Stack Overflow and find a chunk of code that is kind of close to what I'm looking for, because you can never find one that's exact. And figure out what that person was trying to do, and then try and translate that to how is it being used in this context. And so it was much more difficult to learn that way, where now mentoring an intern is a lot easier, because I literally told my intern this week, who's learning React, I said, just copy this chunk of code, throw it into ChatGPT, ask what it does. That's how you're gonna learn, and that's how the next generation of developers are gonna learn React and any programming language, is just by going to AI. And so I think AI obviously is a awesome tool to learn new technologies, to learn how to code, versus spending hours watching YouTube videos that may or may not even apply to the specific situation or your code base. So that's how we've been using AI a lot. On top of just the standard, use cases of AI. I always think back to like, man, if I would have had AI back in the sticker price days, I feel like that story could have been much different. It could have ended up much differently than it did. It would have been done so much quicker, so much better. But literally spending hundreds of hours reading Microsoft documentation on how to set up our Azure instance, I wouldn't have had to do any of that. Couple conversations with AI, and we would have had it built out. is we're using a lot of AI, different tools, building out our own AI tools at work as well. We've been working with Google on building out our Schreiber AI chatbot, which is basically a Schreiberized version of Gemini. It uses the Gemini model, but we have it hooked up to a lot of our systems. So, for example, our AI chatbot is hooked up to our Workday instance. So partners can ask, and this is specifically for, it was targeted mainly for our plant partners who, don't always interact, don't always work on a computer, that don't always go into Workday, that don't really know how to navigate the site or anything like that, and allow them to be able to ask questions on how many vacation days do I have left, and it'll pull up, a query on how many vacation days that individual has, or can I see my last pay stub? Because a lot of times people just want to know how many vacation days they have left and what their last pay stub looked like. And it takes a long time to navigate through Workday to try and figure out what they're looking for. And so that was one big thing that our chatbot, which uses Gemini basically behind the scenes. It's a personalized model of Gemini that we've trained it for our use cases. So that's one agent that we have is an HR agent, and we're planning on having 8 to 10 different agents within that chatbot within the next year. So we'll have like a finance one that the finance team can use that can say, hey, can you build me a dashboard of metrics for last quarter on cream cheese sales or things like that. So a lot of our office business partners will be able to utilize the model to pull metrics up much quicker, which I think will be cool as well. We've also looked at getting Palantir, which is a AI company. I'm sure you've heard of Palantir. automated flows and automated decisions, such as, there are decisions that have to be made on, we're low on inventory, we have to short a customer, what's the best way to short these customers so that we keep all our customers happy, and we have strategic partnerships, like you don't want to go piss off Walmart, so how do we navigate these scenarios to make everyone happy, basically, or if you have to piss someone off, make sure you're pissing off the wrong someone and not a Walmart or a McDonald's. So a lot of those types of things are coming up, I guess, with our AI initiatives. But it's without a doubt that AI is a game changer. It's a catalyst for businesses. Similar concept, I think, to the internet, where it was, people said if you're a business and you don't have a website, you're going to be out of business in 5 years. When the internet kind of first came out. And I think this will be similar. If you're not using AI in the next 5 years as a company, you're probably not going to be a company for much longer. Type deal. Have you seen Notebook LLM? It's a Google product. And we've used it. We've been demoing it, and it's pretty awesome. I don't really know exactly how we're going to use it. We've done a proof of concept of it. And it's awesome. It's just cool technology. I just don't know the practical use case yet. But what we were able to do with Notebook LLM, I think that's what it's called. Notebook LLM. Is we had a recording of like a 45-minute recording on someone giving an overview of a system, kind of like a tech demo on here's how this works and here's what we're going to do with this new system. And we were able to take that 45-minute recording and throw it into Notebook LLM, and it created a 6-minute podcast on the content of the 45 minutes. And it was very, for the most part, it was a very natural conversation. So it's two people in the podcast that are talking about what's going on. The one thing that felt a little bit unnatural with the conversation is that as the two people were talking, it would the transfers were almost like too crisp. It's like as soon as this person stopped talking, this person would start talking, and then back and forth. And there was a lot of, and it's like you'd almost have to have two people that could read each other's minds, or like have it be scripted to know that somebody was going to respond that quickly, and they could bounce it back and forth as quick as it did. So, you know, if they could just add some more pauses in between the two the two people talking, I think that would make it a little bit more natural. That was the only thing that I could see that was like, yeah, you can tell there. But otherwise, the conversation back and forth, and them being able to digest the content and kind of regurgitate it in a podcast format it was pretty cool. It was cool to see.